the relationship of content on the biggest screen in the house. Customers still opt for the best viewing experience. That's the smart television. So the ad experiences and the brand moments that I see, whether I'm paying attention or just intrinsically, then down when I have my smartphone in my hand and I'm thinking about my family's needs, connecting that is where we think we can be second to none.
This is Evan Shapiro, your media cartographer. I'm at Cannes for Big Brains at Cannes. I've got Adam Bergman, who is the GVP of Advertising and Data Sales at VIZIO. Why do you sell both of those things together?
Yeah, well, first of all, great to be here with you. Thanks as always for the time. Why do we sell both of those things? They're two core pieces of the modern television market. You know, for closing in on a decade, we have been collecting, curating, and studying the viewership behavior on smart televisions. We like to say our customers vote every day with their behavior. What you watch is a really key aspect of your psychographic profile. So through our Inscape data business, we have been thinking about viewership for a long, long time. As the television market and the streaming market collapsed, congealed into this one big machine, this super rich data set, which had previously really only been used to think about measurement, now really came to the forefront for recommendation engines, for ad targeting, and for just having a better understanding of the way brands are operating in both worlds. So, as an owner of a free cable service, WatchFree Plus, as a curator of this really powerful data set, it makes sense to help the market and infuse these learnings in both sides, whether it's investment planning or measurement.
How long have you been at VIZIO?
It's been 6 years.
And you know, I think when you started there, it was a very different company. As we were just talking about $800,000 in sales, now close to $1 billion in ad sales. From a hardware only to a software side hustle, as you said, to really a software forward. You've got this, would you call it free cable system in WatchFree?
WatchFree Plus, our free cable service. This TV comes with free TV.
You don't call it fast, you call it a free cable television?
We provide everything that cable provides.
All right, I love that.
I think we've honestly done a disservice these last 6 years plus, maybe call it 4 years, calling it fast and trying to convince customers that it was something different. All the best things about cable, your favorite shows, your favorite movies, that's what this is. And so I think the understanding in the marketplace from the buying community, if from the outset we were like, this is free cable on your television, I just feel like that has like threads to so many different discussions.
Well, it's where it's moving. I mean, all of these things are going to converge into one experience.
That's right.
Set. So you've really changed the face of this company, but you've also been, I think, really leading because you're so nimble. You're not tied to some monstrosity of a company until now. Sorry. But you've been so nimble, you've really been leading the change in what OEM and what the whole definition of connected television can be. Now, you've been acquired. Officially, finally, by one of the largest companies on earth. One of the largest television sales outlets on the face of the earth. How does that change your job? How does that change operations for the team at VIZIO?
Well, I would say in the 6 years of VIZIO as a standalone business, a lot of those learnings and experiences are actually translating again. As you said it, VIZIO is a 22-year-old hardware company that had a software side hustle. William Wang, our CEO and founder, an absolute visionary, saw what was happening in market, but really waited to make his move. And so over the last 6 years, as we've not only transformed VIZIO from a financial and economic position, the culture and way the company operates has been seismic. Now, as we've joined the Walmart family, a super exciting acquisition, a very, very long-time partner in the hardware business. As you stated, Walmart and Sam's Club moving the majority of televisions in this country, they're actually going through some similar transitions. These past few years, you've seen the growth org with our chief growth officer, Seth Dallaire, really come to the forefront. The way Walmart Connect acts as an ad sales platform and business. VIZIO joining that group. The way we act as a marketer, Walmart as an advertiser, now sits right along the way we build advertising businesses. That says a lot about the way they're thinking about what the future of commerce is. We fit really nicely into that story, and we also bring experience on how you transition the culture of a company to really focus on what the future is going to bring for shoppers.
Yeah, it's funny. I watch Walmart from afar. I live in Manhattan, so we don't have any Walmarts in Manhattan. But I watched their executives talk last year on stage about their data collection, about their ad stack, and it was really impressive. I mean, it was the real tech forward and data forward method of basically playing the full funnel with the inventory that they have. It's really incredible. I think it's next level.
Yep.
Then you add the television screen, sight,
right.
sound, and motion to that, and the ability to have your own brand in-house.
That's right.
It seems like you're going to be able to collapse the funnel.
Yeah.
In the upfront, full funnel was one of these buzzwords that was said so many times it became fucking meaningless.
Yes.
Let's be honest. And we did that a lot to ourselves this year.
Yes, we did.
But this feels like collapsing the funnel in a way that is a real opportunity for advertisers and a real game changer in the industry. And I've been saying that since before you were officially merged.
And I heard you saying that, and I think a lot of us were paying attention. I mean, look, I think, one, I agree. Sort of the approach to data has been immense. I think, look, one more piece on the culture, right? Like, why did VIZIO grow the way that it did? We were committed to delivering great technology at thoughtful prices. I used to say this when we were first in the business. Our televisions aren't inexpensive because they're cheap. They're inexpensive because we choose to sell them at that price point. That's a big distinction. You look at the ethos of Walmart and what Mr. Sam started. Everyday low prices, save money so you can live better. That's a really important sort of ethos to take into the advertiser market because we want people to be more powerful, more thoughtful, and more just, I would say, articulate about the way that funnel exists. I think there's two versions of the conversation that you can make the argument one way or the other. To me, it's not about collapsing the funnel. I think the person within the media buying machines who is tasked with reach frequency with a 15 or 30 second spot is not the same person paying for a sponsored search placement for granola. Those are two different buyers, two different thought starters. I think there is a reality in which you can think about the moments of inspiration and how fast that can get you to frictionless commerce. I don't see that as collapsing the funnel. I see that as let's take better signals from the market to better understand the influence, right? I think there's a real distinction, right? We like to think of Walmart customers, they're building their basket throughout the week. Not only are we the largest grocer in the US, but as we've grown in sort of alternate merchandise, there's a real experience that we carry throughout their whole week. So as that week progresses, and then you think about, okay, what's my own media viewership, the relationship of content on the biggest screen in the house. Customers still opt for the best viewing experience. That's the smart television. So the ad experiences and the brand moments that I see, whether I'm paying attention or just intrinsically, then down when I have my smartphone in my hand and I'm thinking about my family's needs, connecting that is where we think we can be second to none.
And it does feel like the ability to pull those two ends of the experience together is a huge opportunity. Isn't the data that you're going to be, you're right, these are two different buyers. The retail media buyer and the sight, sound, and motion buyer of television are two different media buyers. But at the client, if you can connect the data points, you're going to make both ends of that spectrum more efficient as they're buying.
That's exactly right. That's absolutely the goal, right? I think to the point of like, there's the tactical of how the buying and selling of media will take place. What you said is exactly right. We're watching brands' eyes get really big as they're like, aha. Creating connective tissue is the most important thing in a really effective marketing plan and marketing strategy, right? When you're talking about your audience and sort of the meeting customers where they are, I think we now stand up to that challenge in a way that is completely unique, right? The smart television home screen and the VIZIO operating system has created for many brands an entirely new line of thinking for how to approach television. As you look at our future, you look at our operating system, which today exists solely on VIZIO hardware. We talked earlier about the relationship of hardware and software. Well, we've also now announced to the marketplace that on the private label television brand of Walmart will also carry the VIZIO operating system. So what you pair with this is this scale and distribution path while also saying, hey, look at the tactical approach to talking to your customers every day. Those two things meet at a really important time. Talked about the upfront marketplace we're coming into where, yes, live sports. They're also now 3 times as expensive. So you have to really think about all your other investments thoughtfully.
Yeah, and so what does that do to the VIZIO footprint? When you have the number of sets that you're going to be sold that have the VIZIO brand on them, but if your VIZIO software is now on the Walmart television set, what happens to your install base there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, you can imagine we have eyes for the moon. We have our own goals and intentions about being the top sold television operating system in market. I think when you look at VIZIO, our brand relationship, you then look at private label brands like On inside of Walmart, and you look at the scale and the opportunity. I think the sky's the limit, truthfully, in terms of scale. I think we look really tactfully at what do the next 6, 12, 18 months look like, and I think if VIZIO has always been in the conversation in terms of the role we play in the smart TV operating game, we move to a leadership role very quickly.
Okay, speaking of leadership, you've just had to manage a team, a pretty close-knit team, right? So this is not one of the massive global companies. This is a pretty tight-knit, I would say, strike force that you've built over there. Run very efficiently, very good culture, and you've had to manage them through what has to have been awkward. A long waiting period, and now a new transition and an integration with a company that is very different from yours. How do you do that? How do you keep the team focused? How do you stay focused? How do you stay optimistic? How do you lead through that amount of change and uncertainty?
It was really difficult in pockets, obviously, when those that were in, around, or near the deal had to withhold certain things from the rest of our team. Anyone who's been through acquisition and integration know that takes a toll on the leadership group that's involved. It takes a toll on those with the right spidey senses who are like, something's afoot. I think, look, the reality is you have to do two things simultaneously in a world where two things can be true. You have to really hold dear what got you to that moment in the first place. For the better part of a year and a half, I've been saying defend what you've built. The people within the VIZIO organization, from the software and product engineers to the VIZIO ad sales team to the Inscape data science team, protect what you've built. You've built an immense platform to change the world, to change the media market as we know it. That's what got us here. If this is the book, we've only written the prologue. So what are those same key elements in culture that got us to here that we can now carry through into a larger organization? You know, one of my favorite things about the Walmart organization is this aptitude and desire to learn. I think what helped us accelerate really quickly was not pretending to know what we didn't know, to ask lots of questions and to be innately curious. That exact same cycle has to happen again. And what's fantastic about the Walmart culture is that same curiosity. So if we hold curiosity and we hold passion, the hardest thing is like when a small group really cares, how do you translate that? I think what we have found in our peer set at Walmart is that people really care about this business. They really care about both the role the store plays in the community all across this country. 92% of the US population lives within 10 miles of a store. So maybe in Manhattan, maybe in Los Angeles, we don't have that same experience, but that feeling of the community around the store is real and palpable. Carrying that into the business that we have built and the business that we continue to build with our peers, that means a lot to the people that live and breathe that retail experience, that one-to-one coordination with customers every day. So sticking to some of those simple truths, reminding ourselves of how we got here, I think will carry us through in perpetuity.
Well, and it sounds like, yes, Walmart is obviously influencing VIZIO's culture, because how could it not? It's the sun, right? And you are the moon. But it sounds like you've been able to have VIZIO influence Walmart's culture, especially as it comes down to the television advertising market and the business that you've built there. Is that true?
I think it is true. I mean, I think, look, to the point of like I don't bring a team to the table that pretends to be retail media experts, right? We are here specifically because we understand the television market in a way that few can. So our job is to educate and ask lots of questions. Our U.S. CEO, John Furner, has been unbelievably clear and articulate and really just emphatic about the role of the growth org going forward, what it means to this company as we prep for how our customer base plans to shop in the future. So it really is a top-down mentality, and I think, yes, we've infused a new energy and life, but we have found an unbelievable culture waiting for us that shares a lot of those same characteristics.
One of the most successful in American history. Thank you so much. This is a really fascinating conversation. We'll finish up over drinks later.
Thanks as always. Good to see you, my friend.
This is Evan Shapiro for Big Brains at Cannes. Check you later.